My name is Leah, also known as Miss_LJV on Instagram and Eventual on Ravelry. Today is Thursday, September 21st, I think, 20-something. And yeah, welcome back. Look at this. 2 podcasts in 2 weeks. I'm doing it. Last weekend, my child turned 5 months, so that's pretty cool. We're starting to get to the point where it's like my understanding of what an infant is starting to vaguely come into focus. So yay! Otherwise, we've started putting him to bed in his own room, and that means that, and we just do the same routine every night. And in the past, he has required a lot of bouncing. Like, he is a motion junkie. He likes to be bounced. And I swear it's because I walked so much during my pregnancy and he was constantly bouncing. Constant, bounce. So that's what we did for a long time, and now he is almost 20 pounds, and it is just unsustainable. It was unsustainable for him and for us, so we got him in his own room, in his own space, and his own bedtime routine, which does not include bouncing. And because of that, he sleeps somewhere. He goes to bed between 7 and 8. It really depends on his naps, so his schedule is really dictated by his naps. And so it depends on when his last nap was and how much sleep he's gotten that day for what time he goes to bed. But all that to say is I get a pretty significant amount of knitting time at this time of this season of our lives. So that's exciting. I have been able to work on things very consistently. Yeah, over the last 3 weeks or so. So first things first, what am I wearing? I am wearing a Turtle Dove by Espace Tricot, and I'll talk more about it during my finished objects. Do I start with finished objects? I guess I do. So I'll just start with this finished object. This is a top-down raglan sweater, knit in the round. The pattern wants you to knit at least, I think, 4 or 5 inches for the collar because it's supposed to be more of a turtleneck. And I made one of these a year or 2 ago, and it was using Knit Picks Wonder Fluff, which is exactly what I'm using for this. It was maroon, and so I knew to knit the collar shorter, and then I decided to do I wanted to attempt bubble sleeves, which worked, but they are, vaguely, it's a bubble sleeve, but I knit it really, really long, so they end up being more like this, which I'm fine with. But yeah, did a couple inches for the ribbing. Oh, the pattern wants you to do sort of a half sleeve, which is what my other sweater looks like. So the sleeves stop about here, and I usually wear a long sleeve underneath, but I wanted to knit this with full length sleeves. And I don't know if we can get it. All right, so we've got a split hem. Back is longer than the front, and I have my little hand knit custom little thing that I always put on the front of my sweaters, so that I can easily just discern which way's the front and which way's the back, so I don't have to constantly look and see where the end's woven in or where the short rows, So I like just attaching a thing, and I can be like, oh, that's the front. I know I mentioned last time thinking I didn't have enough skeins of yarn. I must have bought 7 skeins of yarn. I didn't go back and check in my purchase history, but I was very easily able to work the whole body, and I used its own skein for each sleeve, so I didn't have to change skeins halfway through or at the end or anything like that. So I clearly had enough yarn, and I love this. I wear it all the time. It's still quite warm, so I'm not like wearing this as my outfit during the day, and in fact I'm getting pretty warm right now. Even though our house, we usually keep it at 67, 68 degrees, it's probably a little bit warmer upstairs. I don't know. It's definitely cool downstairs. I would be very comfortable downstairs. But yeah, I'm so excited. This is such a good color. I don't really own a lot of things ever in this like sort of like deep green color, and I'm really glad that I did buy yarn in this shade. It's a very cozy shade, very fall, just I'm so happy. I love it so much. And again, you know, this pattern was the pattern that I knit my sweater in a weekend. It took about 25 hours, and it's pretty fast for a sweater. Knit Picks Wonder Fluff is a fuzzy, fluffy yarn. I don't think I have any loose nearby, but it is very fluffy. It's not roving, but it is kind of roving like. And I don't know, I wear my other sweater all the time, and of course it has some pilling, but it's not as bad as you would think, or it's not felting super intensely or anything like that. So I think it's an affordable yarn, easy to knit up something cozy. I can wear it on my bare skin, on like my arms and stuff like that. Yeah, I would highly recommend both the pattern by Espace Tricot and the yarn from Knit Picks. So again, I knit the size medium, and typically I'm like a large or an extra large, but this is supposed to be knit with a bunch of positive ease, so you can fit a wide range of sizes within each one. So yeah, that is the Turtle Dove. The next thing that I have finished, well, I haven't finished anything else recently, but I did finish one of my socks. Again, this is a vanilla sock pattern that I'm just knitting the self-striping yarn, and I was doing this in the car, so I just decreased down until there was I want to say 4 stitches left, and then I just pulled the yarn through. I just did every other row of decreases on you know, both sides, and then when I got to 4, I just broke it, and now I'm gonna weave it through, and I weaved it through all of them, and I'm gonna pull this inside and make my little toe. For the, I should have brought a sock blocker. For the heel flap, I did slip stitch. I really like a heel slip stitch gusset, and here is my, look at that. Oh yeah, beautiful picked up stitches right there. Oh yeah. Anyway, it's like when I did my rainbow sweater, the way that Yelly had you pick up stitches looked so clean, and so I did the same thing for this sock. Normally I actually pick up and twist stitches, and maybe, did I do that? Anyway, normally you can tell that I've twisted stitches to close up the holes because I knit so loosely, and I did something different this time. I think I followed Yelly's thing on where to pick up the stitch, and it looks beautiful. I don't tend to care that much, and any holes, like right now, like you can see, like there's a little gap here where I picked up the stitch. It's probably on both sides. When I weave in the ends, I will close up those holes, so I'm not super concerned. I'm also gonna find a way to tack this down on the inside to make like a little inner cuff, I think. Otherwise I'll just leave it rolled, I don't care. But so this yarn is Knit Circus Greatest of Ease Extreme Twister Stripes, but it was on sale because it is a miss dye, so something went wrong with the dye. I don't know if, oh, I wonder, no. Yeah, I don't know what was misdyed about it. I don't know if it was the order, or maybe they got dye where they didn't want dye, or something about the stripes. I'm not sure, but I really like it. Looks fine. But this is a medium sock set, and a medium set comes with 2 cakes of 150 yards, so 75 grams total. The small set comes with 100 yards or 50 grams total. And generally, I feel like the length of sock with a sock set that is with the smalls, which is what I used to always buy, is like just a little shorter than I want it to be in the cuff. And the medium is just much too big. So I knit this and you're like, wow, oh, beautiful. Oh, look at this, beautiful. Yeah, nice. But I have an entire color I didn't use, and I didn't want, like, I only got to use a little bit of the dark, you know? So I didn't want to cut it early and transition early. And when I started knitting it, I didn't realize at the time, like, really how much I'd have left. So it's like, I kind of feel like I should have just made it longer. But I have small feet, like 6.5 to 7 before I was pregnant, probably more closer to just straight 7 now in US sizes. I think my foot's like 9 inches long, 9.5 inches long. And I have small ankles, or regular sized ankles, but then they greatly expand to big calves. So I just typically don't feel very comfortable in, if I make the sock really tall, it's either too tight on my calves or it's too loose on my ankle and gets all bunchy. So I try to keep them more crew, or what is it called? Not quite crew. Crew's really tall, but like the half ankle. And so because of that, I have all this yarn left over. So what I tend to do with Knit Circus sock sets is knit one sock from one end and the other sock from the other end, so you get the full variety of whatever, whether that is striping or speckles or gradients. Knit Circus specializes a lot in gradients, and so that's what I'm going to do for the second sock. So both of these sock cakes had the yellow in the center, so I'm going to start with that for the second sock, and then I guess not really have any of this beautiful sort of salmon color on the toe. It'll probably end in barely pink. But yeah, anyway, loving this. This is my car project, so I'm gonna cast on the next sock today. When we're gonna pick up our kid soon. I'm actually gonna have to probably stop in the middle of this and then pick up again after he goes to bed. But I'm gonna start this on the way to the mall. And lastly, actually, I realized that my actual last podcast was more than a year ago, so I don't think I was pregnant at the time, so I definitely didn't have any baby knits. So I'm just going to quickly go through the baby knits. If only I was prepared with the names of the projects. Okay, so before my son was born, I decided to knit him a few sweaters. I didn't want to knit too many because I figured as he grew up, I would want to start customizing for his actual size and not just sort of guessing based upon like a newborn pattern or whatever. And he was going to be born in the spring, so I wanted to try to make things that would fit him in the fall and winter. So I actually did a pretty good job. I didn't know at the time, but let's go through what I made him. This first one is called the Larkin by Park Williams. I believe Park is really good friends with Jessie May, if not Jessie May's best friend. But this is a baby pattern, or I don't know if they have, if the pattern also has adult sizes, I can't remember. But Larkin is really just a scrappy sweater. So this is what we got. So it takes 3 to 4 strands of yarn, and it just says go, just knit. So I was just combining, like I have a huge bowl of scraps, and I would just take 3 to 4 strands of some of random balls. I tried to like kind of pair colors that I thought would look good together. and then I would knit, and then as I was knitting, if I ran out of a color, I would just grab a new ball of yarn that hopefully fit with the 3 colors and then add that, and then sort of as I'd run out of more and more, then the colors would sort of transition. And I really like how this turned out. It's super thick, of course, because it is several strands, and then at the end it had you add like a fold over collar, so it's very, very warm. I would say that this wouldn't currently fit Quinn, but soon-ish. So I think 3 of these, or 2 of these sweaters will fit him in like more of a couple months, and then the other 2 can fit him right now. So yay. Yeah, this one was super fun. You can see all of the different shades here. I had put a couple dark colors in. A lot of these were variegated mini skeins from High Fiber Arts Advent. And yeah, super, super fun. So yeah, I really enjoyed making this. I made the 6-month version, so yeah, this should honestly probably fit him in the next month. Very fun. The next one is the Bumble sweater by Tin Can Knits. So this one I know they definitely have a child or infant all the way up to adult that you can make. And so it's a slip stitch pattern. I'm like, did I miss one? I did. But anyway, so cute, adorable. I just picked random, actually this teal is from I believe I bought it from an alpaca farm during the shop hop in Madison, or like in the greater Madison area, and so it was just like a soft, like just unique hand-dyed skein from the alpaca farm, I believe. So I don't have it in Ravelry because I assume it's not actually, probably didn't even have a label. And then the other yarn is a Cascade 220 superwash. And did I enjoy knitting this? I think I did. Yeah, fun, quick, and rewarding were the adjectives I gave it. Oh yeah, Galpaca yarns, yep, in a soft teal, and it was a hand-dyed skein. I said the pattern was incredibly fun and interesting to knit, and the construction is genius. Oh yes, so because it's so tiny, there were some really big stitches in some of the transition points here. But it was really fun to put together, and I love that you can see the little raglan, and I think I fudged underneath the sleeves because I had huge gaps. But yeah, so this one will also fit him in, this one will probably, in like at least a couple months it'll start fitting him, so it'll be perfect for the Minnesota winters. So that is Bumble by Tin Can Knits. And next is the 1999 sweater, also by Tin Can Knits, so I imagine they also have this all the way up to adult. And oh, okay, the camera actually picks up the pattern pretty well. Like, it is a nice like lace, gentle or like light lace pattern. This is adorable. If I have a decent-ish picture of my kid wearing it, I will attach it somewhere around here. But yes, so this one I knit the 0 to 3 months, and I'm a loose knitter. So it came out. It fits him very well here. The arms are a little short, which is fine because he's always wearing like onesies, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, so it looks adorable. It's so cute. This yarn is Barocco Comfort in burgundy, and it was super fun to knit. I can't remember if this was just a one-off skein or if I bought a specific separate skein or not. This next one, which is called All in Good Time by Ash Christine, was also Barocco Comfort. Oh, okay, so maybe I did buy 2 individual skeins. Folks, do you see this cute cable? there's a little cable. It was so good. All right, my description for this one, or my notes said, I knit the directions for 0 to 6 months. It probably came out a little bigger than the instructions assumed. I loved the sweater, it's adorable, and was really fun to knit. I'll definitely be making more. I would be happy to make more. This one's so cute. And it's, Barocco Comfort is really soft, and Barocco is a very affordable yarn brand. So yeah, this one was very fun to work up. These little cables. But it does fit him now. It might be like a little big, but it looks so cute on him. And again, sleeves are probably a little short, but that does not matter. So yay, baby knits. I also knit him a couple hats and stuff like that, but I'll just keep doing that. So whatever pattern I followed for the hats, actually I'll just put a picture of the hat. We have him wearing the hat, but it was called Welcome to the World Newborn Hat. So okay, that makes sense then. The first one I knit for him is definitely just never fit him. It was always too small, or it was like too warm to put it on him when it was small enough to fit him. But the one that is a little bit bigger that I made a little pom-pom for, I used leftovers of the Haute Knit yarn Trevor Morgan DK in Purple Purpose. So I knit a cowl with some of it, but then I also knit something else with it. I can't remember what. But yeah, so I just used the leftovers of that in the hat, and the hat fits him really well, except for it's like, you know, it's a little short on his ears. So when I knit him another hat, I'll probably actually use the same pattern, but knit it longer. And he's gonna need one soon. But yeah, Welcome to the World Newborn Hat by Nona, N-O-N-A. And it's the DK. I used the size 5 recommended, and then for the worsted version I sized down and also used size 5s. So that's, again, I'm a loose knitter. What time is it? 4:13. Okay, I have a few more minutes. Okay, so that is everything that I have finished that I can talk about. So I did finish my test knit for Talia Knits' or Stephanie Lotvin's mystery cowl knit along, and that will be releasing on October 1st. And so if you go to Talia Knits' Instagram, she has tons and tons of yarn dyers that are selling kits for it. So it was a super fun knit. If you have done or paid attention to any of Stephanie's other cowl patterns, they are great colorwork patterns. There is a little bit of stranded knitting in the cowl. I don't want to give away anything too major, but it does have textured stitches as well as colorwork, and they're all very clever and cute and fun. It's a very nice thing to knit up. Like it's going to be so fun to do for people, where you get one clue a day for 13 days ending on Friday the 13th. It'll knit up really quick. Her patterns are so easy to follow, and if you are I would say an adventurous beginner to maybe slightly intermediate, just because there's so many different techniques involved. But also if you're an adventurous beginner and you want to try new stitches or new ways of knitting, like this is a great sort of like sample, because it's not too big, like a cowl's not that long, and it is each section is very repetitive, you know, and so it's just like little chunks every day. And I really enjoyed knitting it. I loved Stephanie's patterns, which is why I constantly test knit for her. She's the person I've test knitted for the most. But I can't show it to you because I don't want to spoil the surprise, and also that would be very sad for people and Stephanie. So I will show it in a future podcast, but just know it knit up really quick for me, and I am excited for everybody who is going to be working on it. So I encourage you to go check that pattern out. I know that she did have a sale for the pattern, and she may or may not again before it actually starts releasing, but it's coming up really quick. So as for things that I am working on, of course I need to cast on the second sock for my vanilla socks, but that's not super interesting. I am knitting those in my Chaogu size 1s, which are what, 2.25 millimeters? Yeah. Why do I say mils? And I mean millimeters. I probably said that in my last podcast. Milliliters and millimeters are not the same. But yes, I love my Chaogus. Love how sharp they are. They're super, super sharp. Very satisfying to knit with. So I use those for that. And, oh, I have another row done on Quinn's temperature blanket. So I am knitting a square for every day's temperature average for the first year of Quinn's life. And I got half of August on here. So this is August, here's August 1st. This is just denoting the month. So this does not actually count for that day. It's just separating. So it's filling out the blanket by having the month. So this is August 1st. And as you can see, we had several very hot days. The red indicates that the average temperature, so the lowest temperature and the mean of the lowest temperature and the hottest temperature for that whole day was 80. So we had several days in the 90s and where the lowest temperature was not that low. I think one of the days average was 85. Like it was a hot day. And then so this is, I don't know what color this is called. I just keep in my like notes app, I just call it red. And then this all of this yarn is Barocco Vintage DK. And so this is called Tang, and this is the average of 70s. And then this color is called Tangerine, and it is average of 60s. So it cooled off a little bit for the next month. But oh my god, look at all these days! Look at all these days that were red, so hot. But yes, so I have the first half of August in. I need to start. I don't have any of the circles made for the second half of August. I would say each circle, each center takes like to crochet it up and then weave in the ends, you know, a couple, like 5 minutes. Like I'm not a very fast crocheter. So, but I found that I really like to, as I go, weave in the ends, because then that way when I'm ready to knit the row, I'm like ready to knit it. It's not like, oh, I have all these circles and I need to, what I used to do is do the circles and then later weave in the ends. And so I'd literally spend like an hour, 2 hours just straight weaving in ends, and that's so boring, like so boring. So I'd rather do each circle fully, which speaks very similarly to just my general way I am a knitter. So I know a lot of people don't weave in their ends when they're finished. Like, you know, you're not, when you become an experienced knitter, you realize you don't really have to weave in your ends, especially if you leave long strands. Like it's not going to come undone. But for me, weaving in the ends is sort of the ritual of like, I'm done, like I have finished this and now I can block it. And I know that there's debate, of course, should you weave in the ends before or after blocking, but I've never had an issue. So I always weave in my ends before blocking, and it feels like the sort of closure, the finality of my knitting. So I always weave in my ends. And it's not to say that I'm above sometimes if I have too many ends and I'm getting annoyed, depending on the project, that I might tie some together and cut off there instead of fully weaving them in. But for the most part, I really do weave in all of my ends, and I do take great care to weave in my ends on these squares because it's very easy for crochet with these so many little things to come undone, and then it is devastating. You do not want them to come undone. So yeah, I have a bunch of ugly ends on the back. This is the back. Yeah, just back. But again, they'll like fliffily out and whatever. Who cares? The point is they're not going to come undone. And yeah, so I gotta work on that some more. But again, I consider myself basically caught up because I'm not months and months behind. It is coming out so beautifully. Like It's gonna be the perfect size. Oh, see, this is the back. It doesn't even look that bad. It's gonna come out like the perfect like lap blanket size, but a big blanket for a child. So, yay. And lastly, what I am actively working on is another test knit for Talia B Knits. And this one is not a secret test knit, thankfully. It is, so she has a pattern called the Boneyard Sweethearts, and she had released a hat with the pattern, but she decided to make a sweater with it. And she blew up the chart, made the chart bigger. And my size was taken right away. Like, several people wanted my size, and you're supposed to knit it with only a couple inches of positive ease. I want to say she said 2 to 6 inches, but my size was taken right away. I'm definitely gonna just go ahead and knit myself one, but I still wanted to test knit it. Oh, I wanted to get access to the pattern ASAP, so I offered to knit one of the smaller sizes. I have a friend who is a very knitworthy person and fits into the smaller sizes, so I decided to make a sweater for them. And so they helped me pick out the yarn and the colors, and it was so funny at the yarn store. Just, I mean, it was a Saturday, I think, and was it a Saturday or was it a Friday? Nope, it was middle of the week, whatever. And there are these people knitting, you know, they meet to knit during the day, and they are not my kind of people. Absolutely not. They have terrible opinions. I hate the things that they talk about. They are bad vibes. But they were very interested in the fact that I would go to the corner of the store, grab some yarns, go to the front of the store, because the yarn has surprisingly terrible, or the shop has surprisingly terrible lighting, like absolutely cannot capture accurate colors. So I would grab some yarn, walk all the way to the front of the store is long, and set them down on the floor in front of the door. And then I was FaceTiming my friend, and they were saying like, oh, I like these colors together. Why don't you try these colors? Or let me look at this. Do you have any colors like this? And so we were able to get all of the yarns chosen. And so this is my progress so far. Ah, it's so nice. So this is a navy from Barocco. This is a cascade. It's actually the same like line of yarn as the colors that I used for the rainbow in the the striping on the side and the wrist. This is a cascade, I think, and it's a fingering weight. So the sweater is a DK weight, and I'm just holding 2 strands together. Then this is, oh no, is it Line Brand? I think it's Line Brand DIY. It's a glow in the dark yarn. It's gonna be so exciting, everyone, to see this glow in the dark. Look at these little skeletons. I do have, I was like, why did it have to be on the front? Why? But for those of you who think that people who are proficient knitters or who are advanced knitters don't make mistakes, I'm here to tell you, we make mistakes all the time. It's just how hard you take them. Do you take them very hard? Do you take it in stride? Do you need to go back and fix it? Do you not need to? It depends on the situation. So because this is a test knit and because it's a gift for someone else, I am gonna go back and fix it. But as an advanced knitter, I can fudge it a little. So you may notice, which you probably didn't, but this guy has a little scar. I messed up the chart. I clearly, when I'm doing a chart, it's the same thing over and over again. And so I obviously just like messed it up and, you know, switched the colors at the wrong time. So what I need to do is go ahead and add one more white stitch here. And it's nice that it's the white that I messed up, because it'll be really easy to duplicate stitch take white yarn and just sort of follow the path of the stitch, because, you know, stockinette stitches are little V's. They're a bunch of little V's. And so I can just take a little bit of extra yarn and go over it, and then that stitch will be fixed and good to go. So by the time I noticed it, I think I was actually done with the chart, and there was no way I'm gonna drop all the way back down and then figure out how to do the chart all the way back up. No, not doing that. So anyway, I gotta fix that little guy. But the background yarn is very close, but not quite, to the blue. It is actually a teal. Oh yeah, you can see that. It's actually a teal color. So it's navy blue, this sort of like poison apple green, and a teal, and then the glow in the dark white for the skeletons and ghosts, which is gonna be so cool. So I have knit that, and then I have gotten a couple inches of the body, and it's coming along. I just got a lot of work to do. Just a lot of knitting in a circle. I am using my Chow Gu size 5s with the red lace cable, my favorite needles. I probably should have sized down, but because I knit so loosely, especially with color work, but this is gonna be a nice, like, I don't say oversized, but just like a nice cozy sweater. What I mean to say is I most certainly did not get gauge, and probably wouldn't even get gauge if I sized down, and then it would have made it too bulky. I don't want that. So it's going to be a little bit on the higher end of the positive ease sections sizing. So I think this is for a 36-inch bust, and I think she was saying pick what the final garment will be. So the final garment was supposed to be 36 inches, I think. This will probably be bigger, but yeah. So I am loving it. I love color work. It can be really annoying in the moment, but I really enjoy, in terms of like, I have to be thinking about it, I have to be looking at it, but it is very, very fun to do. It's just super satisfying to see the outcome. But actually, that is really all I have. I can make this a little tight, short, and sweet. And I'll come back and do a little bit of life catch up. So thank you for sitting here for my sitting with me for my knitting catch up for my podcast. And those of you who are not interested in hearing about life stuff, thank you so much for stopping by, and I look forward to seeing you next time. And for those of you sticking around, I'll catch you up. Hello, it is clearly the next day. I am wearing a whole different outfit, and I just showered, and my baby is sleeping. So, I just finished talking about my knitting, and now I am on to life stuff. So, first thing with life stuff is today, it's Friday, and I planned with my team to bring Quinn to campus to meet everybody and just have a little like excuse to get the whole team together because we all work from home. And today, Quinn woke up at 4:30, and I let him toss and turn for a while, and like normally I let it go for like a half hour, and today I let it go for 10 minutes, and I was like, I wonder if I feed him, if that will help him fall asleep faster. So I fed him and then set him back down, and then he was awake so he woke up at 4:30, he fell asleep at like 6:15. So, and I have like this thing where like I have to know when, like how long he's been sleeping, and so I had to wait basically until he fell asleep to start tracking that he fell asleep. And so it was like by 6:15, and typically for babies and small children, 6 to 7 o'clock is like a normal wake up time, and so normally he wakes up between like 6:30 and 7, and so being awake for 2 hours really ruins a lot of that anyway. So at that point, I fell asleep, and for the first time since he's been alive, I overslept, and I woke us up at 7:45, which is really, really late. Like the latest we've ever let him sleep since he's gotten on this schedule is 7:20, and I know you're like, oh, that's only 25 minutes, but like for a baby, that's a lot. So I threw off our whole schedule, and we have to like, we're planning his naps around, and we have to get him to campus, and we have to like shorten this nap, and it's just all a mess. And this is the first time it's happened. Of course it would be the first time that this happened. So anyway, so we're gonna get him up in like 20 minutes, and he'll be tired and cranky probably, but yay, meeting everybody. Otherwise, one of the things I have gotten back into is reading. Like, I was a huge reader when I was growing up. That was like one of my primary hobbies. I was always reading, you know, in like, you know, first and second grade, I was reading Babysitter's Club and Harriet the Spy and Goosebumps and the younger Judy Blume. And then and then there was a period of time where I would just grab random books off the shelf and read them, just grab random novels. I read older Judy Blume, like adult Judy Blume at like 11, and then I was reading other, like I can just think of just like one-off novels that I read. And then somewhere in like maybe like 7th grade, I started reading Stephen King. And I never read any of the really old Stephen Kings, like Cujo or Christine or any of that, Carrie. I do have those books. I'm looking over my bookshelf. I do have them. For a while, Steve and I were collecting the hardcovers of all the Stephen King books, but I never read the really old ones. I think maybe my very first Stephen King book was Bag of Bones, and then I started reading some of the other more popular ones like Shawshank Redemption and Green Mile and a lot of the short stories, or like the novella ones. Anyway, I had a big like Are You Afraid of the Dark, or other choose your own adventure, scary stories, stuff like that. Anyway, big reader. And then I've of course kept reading off and on throughout my adult life, but it hasn't been one of my main hobbies. And part of the reason for that is because I'm like an angry reader. Once I start reading something, once I get into it, I want to read it and everyone can don't talk to me, don't address me, I am in my own world, you know, that kind of thing. So I stopped reading for a while when we were hanging out with our friends all the time, because I'm an unpleasant person to be around. I'm not hanging out with people. So anyway, now we're back in my reading arc because I have time alone, or just general quiet time, at least once a week. And having a baby specifically is extremely expensive, with like formula if you're not breastfeeding, and daycare, and of course just things that they need. And so we're trying to save money when we can. So instead of buying books, which is what I had been doing for several years, I have started renting, or I reopened a library card and have started checking them out from the library, which has been like a fun little adventure, because then I have a list of books that I want, and then I look up what books are available currently in our library system. And this actually was kickstarted because Steve, for our anniversary, got me a book called Chain Gang All-Stars. I can't remember the author, but I'll put it on the screen or in the notes. And it's so good, like so good. It's a really good book. I could not stop thinking about it. It is like a modern day. It's like if in the near future they did sort of a reality TV on the prison system. So it's if you had some life sentence for something, you could stay in one of the private prisons, because all prisons privatized at this point, or you could sign away your life and join a chain gang where you basically do a fight to the death, gladiator style. Anyway, it's just a lot of commentary on the prison system, which is like a huge passion of mine, in terms of like human rights, fair treatment, abolition, like that kind of thing. That's like definitely something that's really like important to me. So anyway, it was a very good book. I highly recommend it. And anyway, so that like jump-started my excitement for reading again. And the first 2 books I checked out from the library and read were a romance novel called Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. And it's really like, it's a slow burn in terms of like the romance. It's very well, but in a good way, very well written. The main character is she has a disability, and she is also Black, and the author is also Black, and it is very, I feel like people will feel seen by the book because it is acknowledging that not everybody has the same life experience. So I really enjoyed that book. I thought it was very good, and it's, I believe, a trilogy because there are 3 sisters. So the second book in the series is like Take the Hint, Dani Brown, I think. So I'm waiting for that to come back. I know it's checked out from the library right now, so I'm waiting for that to come back, and then I'll check that one out. And then the other one I read was The Immortalists by Chloe Benjamin. And that one was really interesting because it's like, if you knew the date of your death, how would you live your life? And it starts off so intense, like it like charges at you, and then it's sort of like is again, like this one's like a really slow burn because it goes through each of the characters. There's 4 characters, and they're all siblings, and it goes through like their lives up to their date of death. And so it's all a very interesting commentary, more on like how are you going to live your life, and just life is short, and what will you make of it, kind of thing. So I enjoyed that book. I enjoyed the first half more than the second half, for sure. But then I just checked out, so I haven't started, but I just checked out 2 new books. I was like blanking on what books I checked out, so I went and got them. So the first one I checked out is How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. So it says, author Grady Hendrix takes on the haunted house in a thrilling new novel that explores the way your past and your family can haunt you like nothing else. When Louise finds out that her parents have died, she dreads going home. She doesn't want to leave her daughter with her ex and fly to Charleston. She doesn't want to deal with her family home, stuffed to the rafters with the remnants of her father's academic career and her mother's lifelong obsession with puppets and dolls. She doesn't want to learn how to live without the 2 people who knew and loved her best in the world. Most of all, she doesn't want to deal with her brother Mark, who never left their hometown, gets fired from one job after another, and resents her success. Unfortunately, she'll need his help to get the house ready for sale because it'll take more than some new paint on the walls and clearing out a lifetime of memories to get this place on the market. But some houses don't want to be sold, and Louise and Mark's home has other plans for the both of them. So it says, this is classic Hendrix, equal parts heartfelt and terrifying. It's a gripping new read from, in quotes, the horror master, which is a big statement to make when Stephen King just turned 76 and is still writing novels. He just released one that is apparently being well received called Holly, which I also need to check out. But yeah, so it's like an interesting horror take, and I do like a good horror. So there's that. And then I also picked up The Doubter's Almanac by Canin. It was just a random book I picked up off the shelf. And this one is just, so A Doubter's Almanac tells the story of a family as it explores the way ambition lives alongside destructiveness, obsession alongside torment, love alongside grief. It's a story of how the flame of genius both lights and scorches every generation it touches. Graced by stunning prose and brilliant storytelling, A Doubter's Almanac is a surprising, suspenseful, and deeply moving novel, a major work by a writer who has been hailed as the most mature and accomplished novelist of his generation. So I am interested in this. So this is very classic old Leah, where I'm like, oh, check it out. Yeah, so I am excited to work on my next 2 novels over the next couple weeks. Otherwise, I know a lot of crafters talk about their plants and whatnot, but it's like they maybe show plants or they have plants that they talk about. And I do have a lot of plants I'm taking care of, but just know that I am happy with where my plants are. I had 2 baby bromeliads that spawned off of a bromelia that I bought a year or so, more than a year and a half ago, and they had survived for quite a long time. I don't know what happened, but they both died. But I have 2 more baby bromeliads that I have left on like the dead mother plant. So I'm assuming I just accidentally rotted their roots because they're tropical plants and they need a certain amount of humidity, and my house is not humid, so I don't know if a bromeliad can actually survive without any specialized doing anything, which is not what I do. I just water and feed my plants occasionally, and most of them thrive, but I also really like plants like pothos and like really easy plants. I have a couple types of ivy, and actually I have a prayer plant that is thriving. It's always been thriving. It loves its life, and it's beautiful. I can put a picture of that here. And pinguicula, they are carnivorous, and they love to propagate or make new plants. And yeah, anyway, I have several plants that are just super happy right now, and a couple I let die. I think that about covers it. I'll definitely have some more stuff for you next week. And yeah, if you've hung out with me, I appreciate it, and I hope you have a good week. Please enjoy this transition into the autumn season. I am so looking forward to the leaves changing on the trees and the weather becoming nice and cozy, and it becoming knitwear weather. So have a good week. I will talk to you again soon. Bye.